do the time management. Somebody gave me that activity. Okay, first. My name is Ammar. I'm a part-time PhD student connected to the Manchester Metropolitan University and also connected to the Utrecht University of Applied Sciences. My topic will be discussed tomorrow. It's about social media for social economic development, so I leave it to that. But my role for today is keeping time management, presenting, introducing the first three speakers, and taking care of that they have enough time and things are arranged. We will have three activities, one presentation, one TED Talk, and one role play. So this is a good mix of the whole philosophy of this year's IPID 2012. Rislana will talk about ICT for D, a case study of Jigawa State in Nigeria. Ammar will talk about internet tools and community development in Syria. And Sarah will do the model of community multimedia centers. So please give the stage to the first speaker. And you have, let's say, more or less 6 minutes.
Good afternoon. I hope you all had a wonderful dinner, lunch.
So you can extend this, no problem.
I am Rislana, Kenya. I'm from Nigeria. I'm also taking my PhD with the University of Portsmouth in the UK. My research area is ICT for the case study of Jigawa State government in Nigeria. You know, Jigawa State is in Nigeria, is a northern part of Nigeria, which is highly recognized as an ICT leader in Nigeria because they have achieved a lock-in position in terms of ICT strategy and development. They still have spent a lot of enormous resource, and it has come up with so many strategies to see how they can leverage their development pattern in terms of achievement of Vision 2020 and achieving this in 2015. Jigawa is having a total population of about 4.3 million. It has about 22 square kilometers, and the major occupation is farming. I can say 80% of the occupants are farmers. And it's having the lowest per capita income about $290, which is quite low. The literacy level is 39.5, which is quite lower than the Nigerian national literacy level of 65%. So this is just a brief introduction of the Jigawa State government. You know, as part of achieving sustainable development, in 2009, Jigawa State came up with the comprehensive development framework to see how they can achieve sustainable development through ICT. And many key sectors have been selected as a driver for development: health, education, agriculture, and infrastructure. Why Jigawa State adopted ICT for achieving Vision 20, for achieving this in 2009? Basically, they look at ICT is having a greater potential in terms of economic, political, and socio-cultural development. It's also enable, or I can say facilitate access to information. When citizens get access to information, they can create wealth for themselves. Like we have a lot of e-marketing, e-sales, e-commerce. Another issue is, if ICT is highly accepted, it can reduce the extreme poverty, because there is a lot of poverty alleviation programs put in by the state, where a lot of youth are trained on ICT. Another issue is, ICT will also enable effective delivery of human service development, as I've earlier said, like people can get access to health, government information, policy, and strategy. So basically, these are the key issues that are highly incorporated into Jigawa's comprehensive development framework. They have employed a lot of framework, a lot of strategy, and a lot of policy implementation. Basically, Jigawa set two targets for their ICT4D. The first target is the primary, which Jigawa target to achieve 2 billion naira. Sorry for not doing the conversion. It's about $1 is about 159 Nigerian naira. And they target to have at least 500 ICT professionals annually. They want to produce at least 500 ICT graduates per year, starting from 2010 to 2012. While the secondary target is to achieve 100% and 25% community literacy level at public service and general service. The target is by 2012, all public civil servants must be computer literate. And to achieve 100% computerization of all key government operations by 2012. So these are the two targets of the Jigawa ICT. They also come up with ICT cycle. We have information and communication technology, through which agriculture, commerce, and infrastructure can be improved. Okay. Note there is 4 key issues. They target to have a computer assembling plant, collaboration with informatics in Singapore, CTech in New Jersey, and a local computer precision training. Okay. These are the major e-government projects. They have informatics, which produce graduates with diploma, certificate, and bachelor degrees. This is also one of the community secondary schools. This is the Galaxy Broadband Internet Service Company. You know, this is the community control tower. This is one of the secondary schools which they have employed a lot of ICT equipment. You know, they also have a strategy of sending their citizens to foreign countries to have a degree in information and communication technology. My findings is, I adopted 4 pairs of ICT4D, publish, interact, transact, and integrate. Basically, Jigawa State have done a very good work in publishing most of the government information. You can see this is the main Jigawa State website. They have legislature, judiciary. You can get everything about Jigawa State from the website. But in interaction I can say is poor, because there is a poor interaction. Only you can send email, there is no database integration. Okay? While in transaction, as targeted, they need to have 100% computerization of government operations. For now, I can say not up to 10% have been achieved in terms of government computerizations. While integration is still at the threshold level, nothing has been done with that aspect. So these are my findings. As part of my research and my findings, I discovered that the government have employed a lot of resources and facilities to aid development, but the main core objectives were not really achieved. So this is my part of recommendation. They should encourage more companies to invest in the state, because they have all the threshold and competent threshold and competitive resource to achieve a lock-in position in ICT, but they are not really achieving that. They have about 9,000 graduates of ICT trained in the top university in the UK, Australia, and the US. But most of them, they are not part of they are not adding value to the investment. So I think government should engage all their graduates in aiding their main key strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't tell before, but this is the policy and community section of the presentations. Are there any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. And you said you can be concerned with the ICT4D.
Yes.
But what is your understanding of this ICT4D term? How do you define it?
You know, actually, is to align developmental issue with ICT. Like as I earlier said, they choose 5 key strategic issues like health, education, public infrastructure, and agriculture. Through some of their strategy, farmers can get access to information of whether wood seedlings and other things, you know, which in turn will help them in getting more output to their product. Again, there is some website developed by government and some portals through which users can interact with doctors And
no, that's something. But if I ask you what's the definition of ICT-14, how will you define it?
you know, ICT-4D is a framework developed by WSIS in, I think, in Geneva, or I can't really remember the date. You know that every government should come up with their own roadmap for achieving sustainable development, which Nigeria developed its own ICT-4D framework by targeting to achieve at least number 20 position by 2020, which they think ICT will help them in achieving that. As you can see in Nigeria, the mobile rate is very high. There is access to information, access to education. Many people are now taking their degree, online, which I'm sure will give them more freedom, more capability, as suggested by Ammar. Yeah. I think I'm clear.
I just wanted to know you understand.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
Sorry. What is your role in the process? Are you working with the government as an actor, or are you collecting and then?
Yeah, actually, I'm very active stakeholders of this government ICT strategy right from 2009. I involved in many policy, training, and development.
Do you find that in this condition, the actor network theory that engaging different actor and stakeholder is significant?
Actually, there is disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is effective disconnect between the government and the citizens and implementers. I come up with a workshop which I bring down most of the key stakeholders and government to interact to come up with design reality gap. Basically, as stated by somebody in the morning, most of the projects in Africa and underdeveloped countries, there is a design reality gap. It's just replicating what is going on in Norway, Sweden, or UK, back to Nigeria. The transaction system, the government policy, and the bureaucracy are not the same.
Just adding another thing. How ICT researcher could reduce the design gap? Design reality gap, how could we?
Yeah, actually, it's by involving all the stakeholders. All the key stakeholders must be brought together, do refine the requirements, not really replicating what is going on as said by somebody in the morning. Is also must come together, forget about these people have done it and they have achieved it. Let's adopt their own model. Or these people have done it and have failed. So you just need to start making it from the scratch, developing your local content. Like as I've said, Nigeria is a very diverse country, so many ethnicity, so many people, so many cultures, and so many government processes.
What's your research contribution in ICT?
Actually, my research is to evaluate the linkage between ICT, globalization, and development. That is the first objective. Second objective is to evaluate the strategy employed by Nigerian government in achieving Vision 2020 and achieving this in Nigeria 2015. I'm trying to evaluate the strategy employed to see if it is effective. If it is effective, then refine the strategy. If it's not effective, then come up with a cost-effective and efficient strategy to aid in achieving Vision 2020 and this 2020. I can say Vision 2015 is quite late because not up to 10% of the requirement have been achieved. But maybe if more work has been done, I'm working with there is a National Information Technology Development Agency. It's an overall agency in Nigeria managing the ICT strategy as a whole. So I'm working with them, the other key stakeholders, to see how we can provide a sustainable. Most of the e-government applications in Africa are not sustainable because in Africa we have poor infrastructure. Like in where I come from, sometimes we can do 180 without getting a light, a power supply. So having an e-system there will not really work because the people there has no access to power. Without power, you can't power the device. You get my point? Another issue is sustainability. I'm working with some of the developers in coming up with a mobile application, just like M-Health system. it's an open source content application through which, and we propose to use a very low consumption mobile device to see how we can deploy access to health issues.
Thank you very much for answering all the questions. Thank you. Stage will be for Ammar.
Wait, let's have the 3 minutes for the...
yeah, but meanwhile he can...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Ammar, you need some time for preparing. Meanwhile, okay, excellent. Meanwhile, you guys can fill out this survey and provide the feedback.
Oh yeah, I had the same problem in Oslo.
No, it's for... Yeah, just 2 copies so I can give you this as a
Yeah, when people are finished with the evaluation.
Yeah, just give us one
Are
more
we
minute.
still busy with the evaluation? One? Meanwhile, I'll talk a bit in between. Yesterday, Ammar helped me to know the conversion rate of krones to euros.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And then we knew it's an expensive country. It was at the airport. And by the way, his name is similar to my brother's name. Actually, his name has 2 M's. My brother has 1 M. And it's an Indian name, and your name is from, let's say, Middle East, and so there are similarities.
But he looks like you, I guess.
You think so?
Now
Are we brothers? Could be. The milkman, maybe. Okay. Who still has to fill out the survey?
Okay, we can go.
Paolo still.
Paolo.
I'm okay.
I was trying to access internet again because it keeps
You need Pablo?
crashing. No.
Okay, you are taking care of it.
But, Sujan. No, what's no, Sujan? No, sorry. Could you move one to the left? Because otherwise
To the camera.
we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, everything
No,
ready?
just change the seat, please. Because otherwise...
This classroom is highly connected with so many things.
No. You okay?
All right. My name is Ammar Halabi. We were just talking, just like his brother, and I'm doing some work in the University of Fribourg. I started doing my PhD about 5 months ago on the topic related to internet tools and local community development in Syria. Currently doing a case study, exploring a certain case that I'm going to mention now. So how did I get there? Quite a few years ago, I worked with a agricultural development agency in Syria on developing a system for automatic diagnosis of bodily disorders. But it was a classical ICT 4D failure, if you took it from that perspective, because basically what the interface that we produced was required entry in English, in informal scientific English language, which was basically useless for farmers, and the agricultural engineers that needed to diagnose barley diseases needed to touch actually the plants, know the smells and the texture and the color by hand of the barley plants themselves. So the system, the idea of the system itself for diagnosing bodily diseases was flowed from the very base. So the classical failure is that we did not engage with anybody who was going to use the system. By that time, of course, I didn't realize that. I was just a graduate of computer science, so I didn't have these ideas about design studies, how to engage users. Later, I became to realize that what we were according to in this agency was a very old classical model of development. You have a central agency with experts having implications to be applied in the field according to certain priority that did not always intersect with people who are going to benefit from it. On the other hand, I recently had the chance to interact with a local student community in Syria and Damascus, and this local student community is interested into applying collaborative internet tools into improving themselves, into improving their learning process, into exchanging interesting ideas and doing interesting projects. So this is one of their workshops and or basically one of their presentations, and they're presenting the role of social media for new healthcare systems. Another activity is that sometimes they gather after the presentation and then they write online content in Arabic about what they have been discussing, what they've been presenting. Sometimes they do workshops. These are also youth students from medicine, and they're learning how to write wiki content to support a later project which would include medicine students writing wiki content, both to enrich the Arabic content in medicine online and to have an incentive to learn. So Wikilogia is an interesting case in that sense. This is their recent banner of the community online, because they're a self-initiated community that is excited about internet tools, that are employing internet tools, thinking and reflecting on what they need of technology and how they can apply it in their learning process. So it's an interesting community as a case study, because we can start kind of addressing questions. Why do members join? How do they join? What kind of tools they use? What kind of problems do they have? So to start having design implications, what can we contribute with them to address the problems that they have for community, this kind of community building. So I took Wikilogia as a case study, the first one. As we just seen, they have multiple activities which produce multiple outcomes. This is, for example, a wiki page. It's in Arabic, but it's talking about a certain concept in open hardware. So there's also a subgroup that works on open hardware, and they write wiki content. They mainly communicate over Facebook, and this is the open hardware Facebook group. And here they're discussing the Arduino, which is a circuit board, and so they're discussing how to connect a certain sensor to Arduino, and then people are answering. And later this could produce a workshop on Arduino. They also write blog posts, so when they do a local activity or a workshop, they share the results that they have by writing blog posts. This is how to make a jumper. A jumper is a wire, basically, that's used for electronic prototyping. So now that was a glimpse over the overall activity in the Wikilogia community. I'm now going to take a specific case from a specific activity from Wikilogia and kind of delve in it in a little bit more detail to illustrate what kind of design implications we can get from such case analysis. This one is the electronics workshop for youth. This happened quite recently, about a month ago, where certain activity and discussions online and offline between people in Damascus resulted into doing a prototype of a workshop for teaching electronics for youth. So what happened, how the activity really developed, is that there's this open hardware group that is interested into ideas related to open hardware and circuit design. And in its shadow, there's a secret Facebook group that's the organizational group that includes highly active members from the open hardware group that are interested into managing activities of the main group. And thinking and discussing what kind of activities can we do in the open group. So in these two groups, the main group and the organizational one, there has been high interest in Arduino as a circuit board. And Arduino, for people who don't know, is a circuit board that makes it really easy for beginners to start learning electronics and start connecting sensors and wires and lights and buzzers and engines and make cool stuff with them. So they have been interested in this because it's an open hardware platform and it enables lots of applications. So what happened is that they developed a project plan for quite a bit of time, and then when they had enough content and enough of a good idea and built enough comfort with the Arduino as a circuit board, they organized a presentation where they shared with the rest of the Wikilogia community, and they invited also students from the university to come attend. And they showed what they can with the what they can do, what the Arduino does in terms of lights and buzzers, and then everybody was just excited and wanted an Arduino. And members were joining, and people were jumping on the Facebook group, and they just wanted to take participation in the activity. And this excitement produced, this is trim, but it's fine, produced another group that is called the Fablogia group, which is basically just the same as the open hardware group in terms of interests, but it's more located in Damascus, so it's geographically located, and it's more geared towards workshops. So it's not only sharing information, but we went to do workshops and projects. And they adopted the Arduino as their initial activity to do. And then they did the workshop that we just saw pictures of. But basically this is a prototype of a workshop. They just took 3 children to kind of test what kind of ideas can children take, what kind of interaction there is, and then they were going to do a more open workshop. But this did not happen yet because of the security situation, but they passed through that phase. So this kind of gives an idea about the overall flow of the whole activity, right from the idea stage to the implementation. And we can see how it started on a local scale, quite private, within an organizational group, and that as members started to kind of accumulate information and comfort with the medium and the device, the idea started getting into a more public and getting more tested in a more public spaces. They went to the presentation and they went in open. This Facebook group is open, and then they did a workshop. So this kind of flow from private to public is also associated with flow of content that also ranges between private to public. So when they were discussing stuff in the secret group, they had secret Facebook discussions. They had email and chats, quite direct, quite one-to-one communication. Later, as the activity was getting more public, they had to prepare slides and videos and pictures for the presentation. And later, when people started joining and they initiated a public activity, now we have Facebook discussions, we have blog posts about the activity, and we have wiki pages about people writing, for example, what is the Arduino, how to make a small RC radio-controlled, remote radio-controlled card with an Arduino and stuff like that. So, although this kind of diversity of online tools and collaboration and communication mediums is necessary for them to find the appropriate tool according to an appropriate purpose, but there's an emerging problem that keeps getting more and more visible for the community members, is that when they're doing the activities, they have many pieces of content on many different places, and soon it kind of becomes a distracting mess. So I talked with somebody on email, now I'm trying to mention the same idea for other people on Facebook. I cannot really retrieve the kind of discussion, I have to go back and forth. So this distribution of content is kind of a challenge. Another example of that is that they want to write a wiki page or a blog post, but lots of the information that they already did on the Facebook group can be actually fed into the blog post, but it's hard to retrieve because of the Facebook linear nature. So this kind of difficulty in the distributed content and in a chaotic fashion can be translated into a design implication. We start now thinking about a solution for this, how to create some kind of an online platform or collaborative tool that would make this easier. So now everything else is basically to do. So to do from here is design. So thank you.
Thank you, Ammar. Other questions? Yes, please.
Well, my question is, I see from the case you're presenting there's a lot of engagement the part of, from this community. It's kind of a bottom-up process. It's not like